Hello everybody and welcome to Hello Yellow. Today I'll be doing something I've never done before, yet have wanted to do for some time. That is, to make a video essay. The main thing holding me back was not having a topic to go over. And on August 19th, at around 8 p.m., I found a topic. I stumbled upon a video displaying the free EV charging provided by the German car manufacturing company Volkswagen. And if any German comes in the reply saying I should pronounce Volkswagen like Volkswagen,
H&M. Huh?
Yeah. Anyway, why that inspired this is because of the reason behind the multiple billions of dollars VW put into the EV infrastructure. That is because of a fun little thing called Dieselgate, or more obviously named, Emissionsgate. Now, before getting into that, let's dive into the history of the company. As most German companies still around today, it all started in the 1930s, more accurately, 1937. Well known for being just 2 years before the Second Great War, World War II. Unlike most German companies around then, Volkswagen was pretty much directly founded by the big H-man himself, being founded by the German Labor Front, a Nazi organization. Volkswagen, by name, was created to be a people's car, priced at just 999 German Reichsmarks, equivalent to just under $401.69 USD in 1937, 8,774.14 USD today, which is no small sum, yet is almost still half the price of a brand new car in the US at the same time, 760 USD. In 1934, Hitler wanted a fuel-efficient car that could support 2 adults and 3 children. He was fond of the machines and wanted the car to traverse the Autobahnen, a highway system that inspired the roads of modern-day America. His original design was worked on by Porsche, based on a Porsche model from 1931. On May 26, 1938, the first Volkswagen plant was put under construction to create the company's most famous car, the Volkswagen Beetle. A car with such a great design that, despite the creator going on to commit atrocities so great that they have been rivaled by only a few men in the last few millennia, it was produced for a whopping 81 years. During World War II, Volkswagen, only reinforced by its close ties to the Nazi regime, was one of the first companies to utilize forced labor of Soviet prisoners of war. Since its inception, the company was chronically understaffed, so the addition of prisoners of war, concentration camp inmates, whose population was heavily numbered by Jewish people, and people called Eastern workers, Soviet and Polish force workers, was welcomed with open arms. In 1944, a plant worker went on to the famous, for all the wrong reasons, Auschwitz, and selected 300 skilled metal workers. In addition, 650 women were put to work on military munitions. Overall, the plant contained 4 concentration camps and 8 forced labor camps. By May of 1944, there were over 4,800 Eastern workers at the complex. Like the concentration camp inmates, they were extremely mistreated, malnourished, and overworked in often lethal conditions. With around half of the Eastern workers being women, there were oftentimes pregnancies. Despite the illness and fatigue brought on by pregnancy, they were still forced to work. The government set up natal care facilities for the births that were just a facade to get the women back to work as soon as possible, and for them to not care for their infants. Because the operators of the facilities did not have the children's well-being in mind, the death rates were staggeringly near 100%, as the infants were almost guaranteed to die of malnutrition and neglect of any and all kind. In 1946, the head of the facilities, Dr. Korbel, was sentenced to death for criminal neglect and was executed the year following. As the Allies closed in on the complex in 1945, some prisoners were evacuated and German personnel fled. The rest of the prisoners left in search of those who wronged them and looted nearby towns as the Allies fully occupied the area shortly thereafter. The manager fled to his father-in-law, Porsche, the same man mentioned earlier's estate, transferring the equivalent of 1.4 USD to his personal accounts. Overall, a majority of the men responsible for Volkswagen's atrocities were never held responsible and died free men. At British command, the areas where the Volkswagen plant was operating was renamed to Wolfsburg, after a medieval castle. Between 1986 and 1996, Volkswagen commissioned a German historian to write up a transparent history of the company. In 1991, the company paid 12 million German marks, around 7,228,915.67 USD, an honestly remarkably low amount considering everything, to support former forced laborers. In 1992, they focused on aiding survivors of the Holocaust, a very real event that actually happened, and if you deny it did, you are literally spouting Nazi rhetoric, and should check yourself before you wreck yourself. Now that Volkswagen had somewhat redeemed itself, let's get back to the somewhat present. And what started this whole thing? Dieselgate. Dieselgate was a scandal created by Volkswagen to appear more green by lowering emissions during controlled tests from what they would with regular use. They implemented software that would activate the emissions control system of their turbocharged direct injection diesel engines to meet US standard, while regularly the emissions were a literal eye-watering 40 times that of which were tested. That software was implemented in 11 million cars worldwide, with 500,000 of them being in the US, between 2009 and 2015. In 2014, the EPA found discrepancies between the tests and on-road emissions and repeated the tests. In 2015, Volkswagen admitted to its illegal use of the software, and a day later their stocks dropped by 20%. The day after, the company's stocks declined another 17%, and they spent $7.3 billion to cover the cost of the scandal. In 2017, Volkswagen pled guilty and spent $4.3 billion in penalties. As a result of the scandal, Volkswagen was to build $2 billion of EV infrastructure to promote EVs nationwide. In California, $800 million have been put into building over 1,000 EV chargers. While the charging stations may provide free power, they have become notorious for being unreliable and have done more harm to the company's reputation than any positive press can outweigh. But hey, at least they have the Beetle. Alright. They discontinued that in 2019.